Getting some perspective from Ajay Srivastava, CEO of Dimensions Corporate Finance. Ajay, good to have you with us here. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Prashant.
What do you make of it? I mean, you heard Lata sort of decipher what the policy was like. At the margin, maybe a little more hawkish. And, you know, as I said, that line, our own version of we will do whatever it takes to get inflation down, I mean, it was not said in so many words, but that element was there. What did you make of it, Ajay?
See, I think Lata always does a very eloquent sum up of what's happened. And she puts in a very reasonable tone as if it's a business as usual. No. The RBI today formally declared that their policy of taming inflation has failed. Their growth is down, inflation is up, and they're at plus 5.4% even in the next year first quarter. That means a common man has been put under the bus, really speaking. For the sake of the banks, for the sake of the credit, I think for the institutions, the RBI has now convinced us that high inflation is going to be there. And, you know, the market is so robust that that's the kind of reaction you see over a major policy situation emerging, that RBI is now acknowledging that its policy of inflation targeting is failing. Its policy of inflation targeting has hit the growth but not hit inflation, which is exactly opposite what it wanted to do. And it's not going to do anything about it. It's reduced to 0.35 basis points in line with the market pressures and other pressures. It should have been, if you say inflation is my priority, then it should be a 50% basis cut. They should have taken the liquidity out of the system. He said 1.5 lakh crore liquidity still exists. How can you have a credit stance which says, I want to fight inflation, and 1.5 lakh crores of liquidity? Market is so robust right now that is not reacting. But the fact is, lots of very bad news got delivered to us today morning.
Ajay, morning. I know you've been advocating that invest in fixed income over equities, and that perhaps is going to make you more money in 2023. But so while that point is taken, right, fixed income is going to give you more money. How bad are things going to get on the equity side? What is it that you are expecting for equity markets in 2023?
See, it's not going to get bad, because equity market is not just about economic and fundamentals, as you've all seen. It's also about demand and supply. Who's buying the equity? What's happening in India? The PF funds have to buy equity every month. So, and the SIPs come in every month. So, in India, situation is a little different. It's not necessarily that the economic bad news comes and suddenly people stop buying the market. The flow of SIP, the flow of the PF money which comes in, all comes in every month. It doesn't matter what the economy does, what RBI is saying, not saying. That money just flows in. So the demand of equity in a setup like India is so strong that lots of economic fundamentals do not get reflected in the market. They do catch up. Some point of time they catch up. Therefore, you have to be wary of investing in this market to get a return which is risk-adjusted higher than debt. It's not about making 8% return in equity. That's not good enough. You got to make it a 16% return in equity or 20% return in equity to make it worth the while. And that's what I say is a little difficult process. And what RBI said today, what did RBI say today? Saying that I will not be able to bring inflation down from 5.4% in Q1 and Q2 next year, which is very high inflation rate. My growth rate is going to dip to less than 6%. So, we are now investing in an economy which is going to have inflation of 5.4 next year in the first 2 quarters and a growth less than 6%. Take your pick. How will the growth translate? Inflation has given a lot of wondrous good news to the banks, because what you are buying at 10 rupees, now you buy at 16 rupees or 20 rupees. Therefore, the working capital borrowing goes up. But is that healthy for the economy? The answer is no, obviously, because banks, companies are paying more interest to do exactly the same amount of business. So while banks may have fattened up, the rest of the economy is actually flattened out, in fact.
Hey, Ajay, hi, afternoon. I mean, it's our 23rd birthday. I thought you'd start at least by wishing us, and then pouring cold water over our enthusiasm.
No, champagne was awaited. I was waiting and waiting and waiting. I said, no, champagne. So let me give some bad news. Maybe champagne will arrive after that to make me change my mind.
No. I'm just joking. Jokes apart, I understand. I mean, you've been saying for a while that, one should be investing into debt now, and there's not too much of an upside in equities. But having said all of that, right, at a time when the S&P 500 is down 20% this year, the Nifty is up 7%. So there's been a stark degree of outperformance that India has seen vis-a-vis most markets globally. Do you think that even if the US is headed into a recession, our markets will continue to outperform, and should the bias still be on the upside as far as equities are concerned?
See, unfortunately, I'm not a politician who has to then say that India is better or worse than America. I look at my own little portfolio of money, my customers, and say, what's the return I've made out of for them at the end of the day? So, my horizon is a little more narrower than them. So if somebody has made worse than me, it's like, in your class, you could never go and tell your parent that, listen, I've come third in the class. But so parent will always tell you, but they were 2 ahead of you, right? They never used to say that they were 27 behind you. So, in our world, we don't look at what's behind us. We look at what is ahead of us. So comparing America is not exactly healthy. America is an economy in decline. I don't think we should compare it anymore. It's not a superpower. It's a crazy power, I would say. But for Indians, I think it's important is because our threshold rate of return, which you get, even an ordinary person in a PF gets a rate of return of 8% tax-free. Now, 8% tax-free at 30% translates to about 10% interest. Guaranteed government money available to you at 10%. So if you make 8% in equity, what the hell are you doing? You might as well give it to the government in PF and let it roll. So for common man, today it's important that his threshold goes up for return on equity, and that's become the more challenging part of it. And that is where we keep saying that the old paradigm, keep on investing, keep on holding, doesn't work. Share prices move, seasons change, movies change, stars change. Nobody wants to go and see the 4 stars of India film stars again, right? You want to see new stars. So I'm saying the whole paradigm of investment is now changing to say churn, book, reshuffle portfolio. And that's very different from 30, 40 years of logic that you hear in investment. So that's lots changing, and your 23rd birthday. So that's really young. I can't believe it's just 23, man. We found so old ourselves. You can't be just 23 at the channel, man. It can't be.
I mean, what I would say, Ajay, it's a pleasure. I mean, thank you so much for all the wishes. And
someone called the channel a mature child.
Even on day one, mature on day one.
I think it was Ashish, right? Who said the NSE, who said mature. That was very apt description.
Apt way to describe.